Hello and welcome aboard everyone. This is Beginner's Java lesson number 2. I'm creating a new project so that we can continue learning. So I'm going to name this lesson Lesson 2 and we'll continue right where we left off. Apparently I can't name it that way. And I will put this one on GitHub just as I did the last one. Apparently I can't have that, but I can have a space. And I'll actually show you guys how to interact with Git this time around, and how to upload our stuff over there. Cool. So once again, I'm going to start with public static void main string args. Once again, we're not going to talk about it. That's going to be the elephant in the room until probably like lesson 15 or so. I apologize. It just really doesn't make sense to go over right now. So okay, let's flesh out a little bit more about what we can do with each of those data types that we used last lesson. So we talked about int, and we're just going to say number a equals 1, and int number b equals 5. So if I were to take 3 variables here, there's a few things I can do. So I can say, just like this, I have an int total, and I didn't say what it's going to be equal to. So I can just say total equals number a plus number b. And now I can just do a quick system.out.println, and I'll output total. And when I output total, and select run, lesson 2, that's going to obviously say 6. Sorry, I hate that stupid thing. So it says 6. And when it says 6, this is easy to flip around, so I can change that to a minus sign just as easily. Give it a run, and this time it should say -4. And if I change it to a multiplication sign, you guessed it, you won the prize, it's going to say 5. So, you know, we can adjust these numbers however we want. It's a computer, it's doing some math. I hope that this doesn't wow you very much. But just to give you a quick, you know, update on how this works, if we wanted to, we could say equals number a, and when we changed it right here, that value would then change. So even the IDE tells us, hey, you don't need to do this because you then change it right here. So I'm not going to do it because I'm going to try not to teach you guys bad stuff, just for the fun of it. So, okay. The one other thing I will say is that there are all the normal types. So plus is add, minus is subtract, star is multiply, and slash is divide. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Is the caret exponent? And the answer is no. No, unfortunately it is not. The way that you do raising anything to a certain power is really weird. So I guess I can show you guys that, because this is a pretty good time to do it. So let's say I want to do something like int to, and we'll just say base equals 5. And we'll say int power equals 2. So we all know what 5 to the second power is. It's 25. So the way to do that, and we'll just make one called int result, So we know that it should be 5 plus 5. The way that we do it's a little weird. So we say results equals Math.pow, and we do, I believe it's the power first and then the base, I think. And the reason I say I think is because it's been a while. Okay, so where did I find a double? Required and in. Both of those are... God, I hate this. It's such a weird function. Whenever I try to use it, I always get a little weirded out. Java math. So one of the cool things that you can do when you're learning Java is if you ever type in Java followed by the library name, you can actually go into Java's documentation and it will show you exactly how all this stuff works. And so that's actually our issue, is it's expecting us to use two doubles. I don't know why. So the first argument is raised to the power of the second argument. And so if we actually click on this, it will give us a whole bunch of conditions. Now, not all documentation's quite this ugly, but it's like, as long as it's positive blah, and what, who cares? So if we change these to double, change that to double, and change this to double, I would expect for us to get 25. So if I just do a system.out.println results, I'm just going to move this total one up here, and then just comment that whole thing out. Alright, so we'll just comment all this stuff out. Actually, you know what? I'll teach you guys how to do a multi-line comment. So multi-line comment is when you just want to comment out a whole ton of lines at once, just type /*, and then when you want to comment back in, you just type */. And that's it. So when we run this, now we'll get 32 because I have these in the wrong order. 2 and 5. And so that should be 5 to the second power. However, these labels are now backwards because that is the base and this is the power. So, okay, that makes a bit more sense. Actually, no, I think that makes less sense. Right, because I just did both things. So here's the way it should be. It should be base, comma, power. There we go. And now it will be 25 as we expect. So cool. Alright, what else do I want to explain? While I have you, let me show you just a quick little bit about debugging. So if you have any coder friends, they've probably warned you about how horrible debugging is and about how long it takes, and oh my god, it's the hardest thing in the world, and blah. So let's talk a little bit about the window that we see in front of us. So over here we have that project view that we talked about. This is the code window, or the actual development environment. This right here, all these number lines, it's sort of a guide, and there's this little area right here where we can put these little red dots just by left-clicking. These are called breakpoints, and you place breakpoints in the gutter. I don't know why it's called the gutter. It just seems sort of natural since it is kind of just like a little rail. So when we go to debug, it should hit this breakpoint and stop. And when it stops, we have a few options right here. And these options allow us to do a few things. So here we see the only variable we currently have is args from here. Again, not really getting into that quite yet. But when I hit this button right here, the step over button, that means that I want to run this next line of code. And it only runs that one line of code. So here we see that I've created an integer, as evidenced by that little set of numbers, called power, or double, I'm sorry, called power, and it's equal to 2.0. Now when I run this next line, we create base, and then we create result. When we created result, it actually skipped that line and jumped down and did all of our computation and whatever. But this allows us to slow down the execution of a program so that we understand exactly what values are being put in. And IntelliJ is nice enough to display those next to each of these. So when we look at result, we can see that it equals 25 and base equals 5.0. So all these things are pretty easy for us to see. So that's the basis of what debugging is. So all right, I think that that's going to be enough for this video. I think I've put just about everything I can in here. The only thing I will say is if you ever try to do something like this, this is just a little something for you. We start with something like int a equals 5, double b equals 5. Let's just do 6.0. And we then go int, I don't know, int sum, no, not sum, product equals a times b. It's going to underline it, it's going to complain, and it's going to say incompatible types, int and double. Now, there is something we can do here. We can do like this and say int, and it will treat b like an integer. And when we run that, oh, actually I have to do something with product for you guys to see it, don't I? So once again, I'll comment all this earlier stuff out. I'll just do that by extending where that was. There we go. Oops, wrong way around. And then I'll just do a quick system.out.println, and I'll do product. And when I output that, it will obviously be 30, but just flat 30 because we're treating b like an int. This concept is something that you shouldn't have to use very often, but the concept is called casting, C-A-S-T-I-N-G. And it's basically treating one type of number as another. And you can do this from int to double. So if I wanted to do the same thing of double product with decimal equals double a times b. Oh, right, because that has to be wrapped. I did that the wrong way around. So if I do double a times b, we'll have the same results, except obviously it will be with the decimal. So just running those two kind of back to back with each other so you guys can see what's going on. And if we want, we can do that with two doubles and cast them to int or whatever. There's no restriction on how many times you can use this in one line. Again, this is generally considered bad practice, but sometimes you code yourself into a corner and you need to get out. So, okay, last thing, I'll show you guys how to upload this to GitHub. And so there's a button up here which says commit, or there's update project. Or you can come in here to Git and go to, where's commit in here? You can do commit file, but there's a few other things in here. In this case, I'm committing the whole project, so I'm just going to come up here and click and get rid of that. And this is just going to be a commit, and then you'll hit commit and push. I'm going to add a few more comments to this, but commit and push will actually, and I'll just put dot there because I don't want to be bothered right now. But when you do commit and push, this will actually push it up to GitHub. And so if I go to here, and I go to lesson 2, and I click source, and I come in here, it's all the stuff that we made just now. So it's updated all of that. Again, I'm going to add some more comments in just so you guys can see what's going on there, but that's how all that works. So let me know if you have any questions. This has been lesson number 2, and thank you for watching. Peace.